Hey everyone, welcome to Saturn Slam Review. It's bonus round time because we missed last week for some reason. I don't even remember why. But we we missed it. And it's a shame too, because that was one damn good episode of NXT. But it's not a shame because we're gonna talk about it right now. The August 28th edition of NXT. This was one of the best hours of NXT in quite a while. We kicked off with a Undisputed Era promo, that was last week. Never mind. We kicked off with Io Shirai versus Cammy Fields. This was a squash match if there ever was one.
But as these things go, they're like, we won't just give you a squash match. We'll put a little something extra in there for you.
Yeah. I guess the Koji clutch is her heel finisher, I guess, because she hit her moonsault, but pulled the Cammy Fields up at 2, and then put the Koji clutch in. And then out of nowhere, Candice LeRae came and beat the shit out of her kendo stick, and she ran away. So this feud
beat up Io Shirai.
This feud will continue. Then we had a Kushida vignette. And then we had Dominik Dijakovic versus Keith Lee in
just
a match
they've been waiting.
Yeah, they've worked together before. They've had 5-star matches before, and this was not quite a 5-star match, but for a undercard TV match, you're not going to get much better than this. It was crazy. Just a few things I want to point out because it'd be a fool's errand to try to recap the totality of the match. The 6'7" Dominik Dijakovic performed a Fosbury flop.
Yes.
Keith Lee has the best scowl in human history. And he hit a Spanish fly, a top rope Spanish fly from these two giant men. It was horrifying because Dominik Dijakovic landed right on his fucking head. I thought the man was dead, but he survived and won with his Feast Your Eyes finish to conclude a terrific match.
Let me sum up this match in one quote. According to all known laws of aviation, there is no way that a Haas should be able to fly. Its muscles are too big to get its fat little body off the ground. The Haas, of course, flies anyways, because Haas's don't care what humans think is possible.
What word did you replace with Haas? I'm curious.
B. This is the intro to the B movie.
Oh, okay. Of course you would know that well enough to assess its relevance to a wrestling match.
What can I say? I like jazz.
Do you like jazz?
You like jazz?
Roker in a bee costume. There was a featurette on Johnny Gargano. They're really hyping up this Johnny Gargano appearance coming up here in just a week or so. They're playing it like he might retire or something. I'm not sure what exactly the implication is, but there's teasing it's going to be big. And have we lost Peter? Let's check. Behind the scenes, curtain jerking. Preview of the Excellent Adventures overlay. Did we lose ya? Question mark. Technically, yes. Okay. Well, we're gonna sort this out. I'm leaving this in. I'm gonna leave this in. We'll edit it out later. We're gonna restart this call and see if that fixes it. think that you gotta bop out of this one and then bop back in if you didn't already. I wish I could just like terminate the call of my own accord. That would make things easier. But this ain't Skype. That ain't Falco. It's going to be fun for me to edit. I love its nesting. It's the Excellent Adventures overlay over the Photoshop window of me working on the Excellent Adventures overlay. And we're back.
I tapped out.
A harrowing journey.
Near fall.
To be sure.
That was not a near fall. That was a count out.
Yeah, that was. You got counted out of nowhere, which like, or got counted out of anywhere. So he must have gone nowhere.
He's a real nowhere kind of guy.
All right, so we're back after a little bit of a technical snafu that none of you will see through the magic of editing.
Cassius Ohno crashed the. He actually just swatted me.
Much like Shane Thorne crashed the commentary team at the announce desk. He was angry they were talking about Gargano instead of him. He seemed enraged and unhinged. And
looks vaguely confused in this photograph in front of me.
So I would assume that Shane Thorne versus Johnny Gargano is the next thing for him to do here in NXT. I don't think he's getting called up to the main roster because they're going to 2 hours and moving the USA. They're going to need to keep some of their stars. And he's much better off for staying in NXT. It's going to be interesting to see how Gargano's really going to be patient zero for the new NXT superstar model, because usually they do their thing, they get called up, and you don't have to continue their story. But now here we have Johnny Gargano, whose story must continue.
He must go on, and they basically like, hey, you're gonna be our flagship superstar in our fight against AEW. It's you versus the Rhodes.
Yeah. So my prediction for the Gargano announcement, he's going to come out, he's going to tease leaving NXT. Shane Thorne's going to interrupt, and then that'll be the impetus of their feud.
Hooray. I don't know how excited I am for a Johnny Gargano Shane Thorne feud.
Well, it's Johnny Gargano, so I'm sure it will be at worst good.
That's fair.
In exclusive footage from last week, Mia Yim is shown going to William Regal about her situation with women's champion Shayna Baszler and the Horsewomen in the altercation last week, and Regal had the best response. He was on the phone. She rudely interrupted him. He's like, "You had your chance. You lost. Get to the back of the line." Daddy Regal don't take no shit. You can't mess with this vice principal. You can't.
Oh, we love Daddy Regal. And then, meanwhile, in Baszler land, the submission magician, the submission MacGuffin, was doing a promo or some shenanigans. But then Rhea Ripley came out
of nowhere. Music that I was not familiar with because I don't regularly watch NXT UK. She came down, looked like a total superstar, got a total superstar reaction. Used the magic promo bullet in WWE these days, which is to call someone a bitch that never fails to get a pop. She's like, I know you're going to say that you've beaten everyone, but you haven't beaten me, bitch. And then the following week, this week, that was, I guess, just dropped because she's not even in the number one contenders match for the title. So they flew her out for very little, it would seem right now, but I'm sure
they forgot that they were doing Takeover Cardiff. She's like, oh shit, God damn it, I gotta be back across the Atlantic in a week. But that was, it was a cool moment. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like if ever there was someone who could believably beat Shayna Baszler, it would be Rhea Ripley. I feel, though, that the better story option, well, I mean, I guess that's a fine story option, but perhaps the better option would be either Bianca Belair finally wins the big one in her third try, or maybe you'd have to build her back up a little bit, or like give her an edge or something. But Dakota Kai, who I prophesized long ago would be the one to beat Shayna Baszler for the title, because that's what the story seemed to hint at, but did not materialize, partially due to injury, partially due to the introduction of Kairi Sane into the mix.
That would do it.
She is due to come back soon, so perhaps she is an option.
The boomerang angle.
Yeah. It's all coming back to you. Cartoons I grew up with are on Boomerang now, and it makes me sad. I protest vehemently.
Get out of here with that.
Stomp my feet.
I'm not old. I promise.
Not old. You're old.
The Matrix isn't 20 years old.
I'm not going to be a quarter of the way through my life in 20 days.
Yeah. People out here making jokes like this is 6'9", and we're halfway between 6'9", 1969 and 6'9", 2069. And I say to you, get out of my country, you European jerks. We use month, day, year, like civilized people.
I know you say it's logical because a day is shorter than a week, is shorter than a month, shorter than a year. But let me tell you something, you little shit. It doesn't make as much logical sense, because why would you have the date first? The date could be any month. But the month is usually more important than the date.
30 days hath September. Your entrails I will dismember.
So, the Undisputed Era wrestled and won the NXT Tag Team titles from the Street Profits in a match that was decidedly worse than their Takeover match. It wasn't bad, but I feel like I need to watch this again on its own, because following Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic is not an easy task.
No.
And they were not up to the task. But I feel like this is probably a fine match, and if you just watch this match, if you're on the network and you use the new skip, I love the new network. The skip matching features and like the ability to go to certain segments, it's just beautiful. Also the improved video quality. It's a total win. I know there are people out there who've had issues with it, but sucks to suck because it's fucking amazing.
They're not me.
So yeah, they wrestled their match. It was an Undisputed Era, let's try to get these guys over style tag match, where the Street Profits were allowed to look good, but the Undisputed Era used old school tag team wrestling techniques, like cutting off the ring in half, and they got the heat on they got the heat on Montez Ford. They worked over his knee. That was the story of the match. His knee was hurting, so he couldn't be Mr. Jumpy Man all the time, and they had to improvise. Angelo Dawkins at one point hit a frog splash that lacked all style and all grace. It was the Lanky Kong of frog splashes, if ever such a thing could exist.
This tag team has a funny face.
I mean, it does. Montez Ford makes several funny faces. He would hit his signature frog splash, but it would be broken up. They kicked out Chasing the Dragon, but the total elimination, high-low, whatever it's called this week, won the day. Won the day for the Undisputed Era, who become the only team in NXT history to win the tag titles 3 times. And Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly configuration become one of, I believe, two-time tag team champions. I think it's just them and the Revival, unless AOP is also 2-time, but I don't think they were.
And now we just need our man Roddy to come through with that North American champ, or steal the UK champ. I don't think that's going to happen.
He once competed for it. Yeah, I mean, after fucking Takeover Cardiff, I don't think anyone can win that UK championship ever again.
But that would make... Well, when we talk about Cardiff, those of you who've seen it, you understand that Undisputed Era versus a certain team was like a new candidate for a Dream War Games match.
Yeah, as soon as you hinted that, like Galaxy Brain just exploded in my head, and I lit up like the 4th of July. Go watch it back, you on YouTube. Watch my face light up like the 4th of July at the thought of Imperium versus the Undisputed Era.
Oh, strong.
It's a
big
good
energy.
Thing that this table's here, or else you'd see my rock hard erection.
That's not the pizza man knocking. Let's just talk about Cardiff. That was the end of the show, right?
We'll intersperse. We'll review these in the order in which we watch them.
Okay.
So on the Takeover Cardiff kickoff show, which I did not watch, but is listed here on this here Wikipedia page, Rhea Ripley beat Piper Niven in a singles match. Cassius Ohno defeated someone who goes by the name or something called a Sid Scala.
Sid Scully. It's Justice Scalia. He's been reincarnated.
In a singles match. No times given, so that's interesting. The show kicked off with Noam Dar wrestling Travis Banks. And
the
Kiwi Buzzsaw.
Buzzsaw, yeah. And this was an interesting one. It stood out to me for its evenness.
Yeah, it was a very competitive match.
Sure. I enjoyed it all the way through, but in the beginning I was like, wow, this is a really quick start, and it went pretty level through the whole time there, and by the end I was like, man, it's not as exciting as the other finishes on the other matches. But I'm like, wait, no, this has been consistent. We're fine here. Don't worry about it.
It was a very consistent, solid match throughout. Both guys got their shit in, and both guys looked good, and it just seemed like it was a fine match to kick off a show with. There was enough excitement to get the crowd going. The crowd was going all night long. They're a UK crowd, so they're passionate, but they're also fucking annoying after 2.5 hours of watching them try to get themselves over with their singing and their chants.
Yeah. Just, pros, they're hot. Cons, they don't cool down.
Yeah.
Come on now.
They're maybe a little too hot. They never shut up. They talk too much.
Oh boy, never shut
up. So yeah, that happened. That was the kickoff match, and it was a solid piece. And then fucking Cesaro just on this takeover card. First takeover card Cesaro has wrestled on since, I think, whatever the show after Arrival was back in 2014.
Yeah.
So it's been nearly 6 years since.
I feel like he was on his way home to wherever his home is in Switzerland. And he's like, I have a layover in the UK. I'll drive out to Cardiff and we'll do a match, and then I'll catch my flight back to the continent.
What I have heard is that Cesaro has been begging, harassing Triple H for months to work on the NXT UK brand. Just get me off
got the
Raw.
boombox outside of the window.
Send me right back. And fucking have a match he did. I mean, this is the Cesaro that we sometimes forget exists because he's used in not the best ways on Monday Night Raw. Although his King of the Ring match against Samoa Joe was awesome, as one would expect from a Cesaro-Samoa Joe match. This similarly against Ilja Dragunov.
He's totally Russian. Don't worry about this English accent. He is Russian.
He is the Moscow Mule. I was going to say Moscow Mauler, but that was Vladimir Kozlov's nickname, and to say his name is to invoke his terrible wrestling, which we do not want to do. So Cesaro made this man. I had no idea who the fuck this guy was, didn't really care. And then this match happened, and he looked good. Cesaro made him look like $10 million. Cesaro looked amazing, and it was a fine match.
They said my four favorite words in NXT: the strength of Cesaro. And I was like, I'm back in college, baby.
That's my. Those are my 4 favorite words in all of wrestling. I took a drink out of salute to the old times. And then we had the match of the night, in my opinion. As hard as they tried in the main event, they maybe tried a little too much in the main event.
That's fair. Yeah.
For the UK Championship, Tag Team Championships, you had the team of Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster, who I think on purpose looks like the lead singer of Oasis. And
yes, I think he's actually in the band that did the soundtrack for this show.
I think that was
They're called
Andrews.
Junior. Let's see, Welsh band Junior.
Yeah, it's Mark Andrews is in the band.
Oh, Mark Andrews is in Junior. Okay, yeah. I thought it was.
And you had it right. It is Junior. They wrestled the champions of Zach Gibson and James Drake, who call themselves the Grizzled Young Vets, which is fucking I can't take seriously because Luke Gallows fucking in one of the episodes of Talking Shop sang a song called The Grizzled Young Vet because he's looked 35 forever. And he called himself The Grizzled Young Vet, and it was a funny song. And it doesn't lend themselves well to a serious heel tag team. And Gallus was in there too. And this match, it started slow and it built to just a fabulous crescendo. Yes. Bodies were flying everywhere, and they were in Wales. I guess Cardiff is in Wales. I don't know much about the UK geography except that Scotland's on top. That's
makes
all
sense. There's the green in the logo makes a lot more sense now. It's a very Welsh color.
And Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster are both from Wales. They're Welsh, as it were. And the crowd was super into them as a result. And when they won the titles, holy shit, did this place come unglued.
It was, it's a fucking madhouse.
They, riot police were deployed to ensure order. Rafters were reinforced.
Oh my God, yeah.
Went nuts for it. And then we had the obligatory, of the 2 takeovers they've both featured one of these, but I'm going to call it the obligatory Dave Mastiff gimmick match.
He's big, guys. He's really large.
This time, he's a perfect sphere. Motherfucker as
You
wide as
can't.
he is tall.
Don't come at Dozovich like that.
No,
I
he's
want them.
those
Oh my god, the
Otis
Dave
is
Mastiff.
yes, that's a match that's on my dream card. Fucking Otis is wider than he is tall. He's a rectangle the wrong
fair.
way. But
He's grown to mimic the dumbbells that he uses to lift.
He's a kettlebell.
He is a kettlebell.
He's the human kettlebell. Then Dave Mastiff is just a perfect sphere because he's fairly tall and very rotund. And he wrestled Joe Coffey in a last man standing match. As far as last man standing matches go, I've seen better, I've seen worse. It wasn't as entertaining as Dave Mastiff's last match against the former school teacher on the first takeover in Blackpool. I thought that was a much more fun match, but I became a Dave Mastiff fan that day, and I continue to be a Dave Mastiff fan. And Joe Coffey, for his part, wrestled well. It was nice to see him not have to stretch his moveset out over a 45-minute match. I think this is a more appropriate match length for the young man, and they had a very creative finish. They were both leaning up on the travel boxes that have wheels on them for support, and the count was at 9, and Joe Coffey kicked the box out from under Dave Mastiff like a fucking high school bully and won the match that way.
All he needed.
That
Crowd was not amused, but I was like, yeah.
I thought that was a fucking great finish. Fuck this crowd.
Right? The spot right before the finish though, it almost felt a little anticlimactic. Like I was waiting for someone to do like a throw or a power bomb, or like I was thinking of like it. So for context, this was the they go out into the crowd and they get up on a piece of scaffolding furniture.
They got on a high thing.
Yeah, and then you fall off in the middle of the crowd, and everyone goes, "Wow, it's insane." This one, it just they both sort of fell off together. I don't know. I was feeling like, oh, like a throw or like a power bomb, or one person's going down first.
Yeah, it was kind of like the finish of Gargano and Cole from the last takeover,
where they just sort of, oh no,
they hugged each other and fell through onto the poorly masked safety pad. And then we had the weakest match on the card and the shortest. So points for that.
Yep.
Kaylee Ray, whose voice does not match her face whatsoever, wrestled and even defeated Toni Storm for the UK Women's Championship. I don't know whom that belt is being transitioned to, but I strongly believe that Kaylee Ray is a transitional champion.
Fair.
I don't know. Probably Rhea Ripley. And then they're going to go title for title at TakeOver War Games. I don't fucking know. I don't know. She didn't really seem like someone that you can put the title on for an extended period of time. I don't watch week to week, so maybe she's a better promo than she came off in the video package. But typically that's not how that works. They look like they're better promos in the video package. So that being said, it's quite the indictment on her skills. And she wrestled fine, not exceptionally.
It was what I always worry about with like women's matches, where it's just nothing, like it's not a unique offense that's going on. It's a very, I don't know why. I often see women's matches that are just prone to just the very, very regular, just sort of holds and hits.
Yeah,
and rest holds. And
my theory has always been with the women is that they don't take advantage of like the differences that they can do versus men's wrestling. Like, women are generally more flexible, but they don't incorporate any like unique offense based around that fact into their matches. So a lot of times they wrestle the same style as the men, just a little bit slower and a little bit less high impact because they're a little bit slower and a little less strong than the guys are generally. And that's and as a consequence, a lot of the times, like when we go to these indie shows, like the women's matches die a death. No one really cares because they're following this crazy shit, and then they have a fine little wrestling match. Like if I saw like any two trainees out of a wrestling school have only been working for like a year or two have a match like this, I'd be like, yeah, you guys are doing really well for yourselves. But this is a takeover. That doesn't really apply so much here. And Toni Storm's great. When she's in there with the right opponent, she can have one hell of a match. I mean, just go back and watch the Mae Young Classic. She had plenty of them. But this was not the right opponent.
Yeah. And so I guess it was well calculated to put it like this. If there ever was a death spot,
yeah,
it was here.
These women were trotted out as sacrificial lambs between the last man standing match, which didn't have as much heat as it should have because it followed the crazy tag match, and then the fucking Iliad that transpired here. This match was 42 minutes long, and I was watching it. And when it hit the 30-minute mark and Walter hit his splash, I'm like, okay, this is it. We're done here. But then Tyler Bate fucking kicked out again, and they wrestled another 12 minutes.
It however way you slice it, good or bad, it reminded me of the Gargano Almas match, where I think they wanted to capture that same energy. It's up to you if they succeeded or not. I thought I was fairly entertained by it. Not quite the unique energy that came from that match, but still like the idea of just like it keeps going, and they're kicking in like the afterburners. And the audience, there was that spike at the like halfway through after about the third or fourth near fall where they're like, "Oh, it's one of these."
Yeah.
And the whole crowd just gets hype again.
Yeah, like I liked the match. I think it went a little too long, and I think they kicked out of a little too much to the point now where it's like, what do you have to do to beat Walter? Do you have to fucking cut his legs off with a chainsaw? Like, would that even keep him down?
Yeah. And the other consequence of it was first I have to mention that the throw against the ring post early in the match,
yeah, that's like way too unprotected a bump for me to ever be comfortable with. Especially myself, but anyone taking that. That's just dangerous. You're asking for trouble.
That wasn't, and as those go, that wasn't particularly well executed.
No.
But anyways, yeah. So the thing with the match happened, and the first half of it was big champions match stuff going on there. As you will.
Yeah.
Walter's giving chops. Tyler's trying to take him down. There's a size difference, all that lovely stuff. And then the last, 12 minutes, last half of this, or 22 minutes, or however, was like the near fall extravaganza. And the problem with this for me, was that you had just this choice, this lovely roulette wheel of spots and kickouts that they went through. It's like the fucking cake wheel, right? And then the one where the roulette wheel landed on for the finish was not the coolest one.
No. That's always the danger with some of these matches. Like when you see I reference Cole and Gargano from the last Takeover a lot because, well, it's a perfect example of it. It's a good match that kind of jumped the shark a little bit with the near falls. And this was also, you can argue this for the Keith Lee Dominik Dijakovic match. You should always end the match on the biggest spot. Like, that top rope Spanish fly should have ended the match. Like, the Dijakovic hitting the Feast Your Eyes was far less exciting. the top rope Canadian destroyer or the Panama Sunrise off of the ladder should have ended the match.
They're finishers for a reason.
And then, well, no, it's not even that. The problem is that they subscribe to this notion that you have to hit your finisher to end the match, which is not a good notion to subscribe to, because if one of these near falls with a move they don't typically win with actually, scores a fall, as a consequence, everyone's going to be a lot more into these near falls because one of them might actually end the match.
That is true. That is very true. And so the other consequence of that is just how the match ended. What was it? Walter hit like a running lariat.
Yeah, he hit a big old clothesline, and then the big strong boy was a little too tired, and he got pinned. It was of all, like you said, of all the shit that they did, all the Tyler drivers, the big splashes, the
fucking bridge outs. That was like Tyler Bates doing bridge out of a pin was sick. It was sweet. It was a fucking monster can shoved up my dick hole. He was so muscular. He just went.
Yeah.
It's like in what was that joke? I think it was from like the Disaster Artist. No. Well, now I'm too deep in the reference. I'm not even gonna make it. But what was that movie where they were? It was like Tom Cruise, and they were like he's like undercover as like an extreme sports person in the 90s. Point Break. Yes. Who made that joke about Point Break? We're like I want to fire my gun in the air. Was that Hot Fuzz?
It was one of those movies.
Much like the finale of this match, I just deflated this segment entirely.
Yeah, it was not the best like, I guess it works for the story that they had been wrestling for forever and hit each other with everything, and that was finally enough to put the guy down. But it falls flat. It's not what you want to see. And I think this is a match that just kind of jumped the shark for me a little bit with, how much stuff they were kicking out of and the nature of the kickouts. And I love the fighting spirit kick out at 1, but not at like minute 35 of a match.
Right. Yeah.
It's it's a good match, and Walter is. I love Walter a lot because he does very little in terms of like crazy moves and shit, but he gets the most out of everything he does, and I think that's the most important thing.
And I will say, long term, when you zoom out of this match a little bit, everything after the match, like I just felt like I knew I had a very strong idea that Walter coming in should have won this, and he did.
Yeah.
Because zooming out, now you have, from what I gathered, Imperium is a relatively new team on the scene.
Yeah, they just formed after Takeover New York.
So they needed a big fucking heel win, and this was it. Like, now Imperium is definitely like, don't fuck with these guys. They're a force. But then on the other hand, you have like the final energy of this match was very much like this. Somehow I just felt like this isn't over. As like he gets up and he's got the rest of British Strong style sort of helping him along. I just had vibes of like, they're gonna do this again. There's gonna be a rematch.
Oh, I'm sure. Like, I mean, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate have had matches against Walter, so get ready for Trent Seven versus Walter. You can't pin Superman Trent Seven. He's gonna kick out all your shit and then hit you with his fucking flab-filled lariat.
He'll lift you, because he can lift you. So that was Cardiff, and I was like,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was a damn fine show. I liked a lot of it, and I thought it was uh it was a strong show on a weekend that had a lot of strong shows, because All Out was also the same day. In fact, I did not watch All Out because I have not had time to watch All Out.
That's fair. Um, they did something. Did you? Oh, we can't not talk about
Yeah,
this.
so Chris
Fucking
Jericho uh, wins the AEW World Title, and he's getting ready to fly out of Tallahassee, or he's in Tallahassee for whatever reason. He's out of the airport, I think, and he takes a limo service to a Longhorn Steakhouse. And when he returns to the limo, the title belt is not there to be found. He reported
pull up the
stolen.
Southpaw Regional Wrestling clip.
Yeah, it's fucking. That's funny because he was in that clip.
That's 500. Costs a lot to
$400 to
replace
get that
those.
made. It's, be a little more careful. For some charisma. This is the wrestling business. But it was found on the side of the road, just in Tallahassee. So I guess they were looking to steal something of more value. I guess they didn't know what they had in that belt. But
Yeah.
they recovered it. Everything's all good. It's just a embarrassing story. A little bit embarrassing, but hey, it got mainstream attention. So AEW's name was mentioned in a lot of mainstream media outlets following their big pay-per-view and preceding their debut on TNT. So I'm not going to say planned, but hey, happy coincidence.
Isn't that nice how it all worked out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so this week's NXT, the NXT for September 4th, 2019, headlined by Adam Cole versus Jordan Miles, but there was other stuff on the show.
Yes, there's a few things. It started out, they just went right into it. Breezango versus Chase Parker and Matt Martell.
Breezango has new theme music. It is certainly less cobbled together than their previous theme music, which was just the mashup of their two songs, lazy mashup at that. So but they have like sirens in there. They're really hammering on the Fashion Police gimmick. They look good. Tyler Breeze did the babyface in peril thing for a lot longer than I thought he would. Fandango got the hot tag. They hit their new finish, the Fashion Faux Pas, which is a backstabber from Breeze into a slingshot elbow from Fandango. It is a fine tag team maneuver, and they are a good team in a division that is very quickly going to be in need of more tag teams. So I think that's why they're together, and I'm okay with it. I would like to see Tyler Breeze as a single, but he's probably going to get a bigger push as a tag team. So.
Yeah, just how it be.
Yeah.
From there,
Velveteen,
we go to
the mirror match.
Oh no, I was going to say
that's right.
There's like Io Shirai, Candice LeRae.
Yeah, they had Io Shirai got her pound of flesh by ambushing Candice LeRae in the parking lot with a kendo stick, and then Cameron Grimes cut a promo
from the rented out Ciampa, Tommaso Ciampa's rented out room in hell. He had to take down all the satanic decorations so it wasn't pitch black in there, but reduce costs and all that.
The Comcast customer service center.
Yeah.
He referred to himself in the third person quite a bit, and he pointed out that he was on the bottom and he had to work his way back up to the top. And then he put on a hat. I don't know what Cameron Grimes' character is. He's not a great promo.
he's just intriguing. Like, what's this man gonna do?
He's intriguing, like, you know, an accident is intriguing. Like, you
It's
see a
like a
car
sloth.
wrapped around a
Yeah,
tree, and you're like, how the fuck did that happen? Uh,
a sloth on a jungle gym. You're like, I don't know how he got here, and I guess this really isn't entertaining, but I just want to stick around and see
yeah,
him do it.
I gotta see where this leads. Like, I don't know how he got there, and I should probably help him, but I just kind of want to see what he does.
Yeah. Turns out, side note, we don't need to help sloths. I saw a video earlier today of a sloth hanging by its feet at like a 90-degree flat out angle off the side of a boat. Like I was like, for a second, I was like, oh my god, that sloth's gonna fall off the side of that boat. And then I realized sloths are made entirely of core muscles and have a tighter grip than fucking something that tightly grips. Like fucking, they're like moss on a rock. I swear to God, you could just put a fucking sloth on the wing of a plane, no harness, and you would be fine.
Oh my god,
All
excuse
right.
me.
Well, good thing you're sleepy because we're about to have a Velveteen Dream. That was an awful segue.
Yeah, he wrestled the
And
mirror match against Conan Reeves, who
yep.
is improving. Actually, he looked pretty good in this match. He got a lot of offense, but ultimately, he actually took most of the match. He had a argument with the referee, and then got hit and pinned with the Dream Valley Driver. And then Roderick Strong burned Velveteen Dream's couch. In the immortal
So
words
classic.
of Dave Chappelle, "Fuck yo couch."
Oh yeah, this screamed to me like classic WWE revenge segment. Like he's in a field and a prop is burning. We're back, boys.
They have the playbook. They like to stick to the playbook. In the theme of this show really was wrestlers who haven't been pushed as hard getting a lot of offense in matches against wrestlers who have been pushed very hard. So that trend continued. That very specific trend continued with Bianca Belair and Tainara Conti. They wrestled a match. Tainara Conti got a lot of offense in. She was in control of the match until she went for a dive of sorts off the apron, and Bianca Belair caught her, hit a fallaway slam, and then hit the KOD for the pinfall. Or she also hit a handspring into a standing moonsault, which was very impressive. Bianca Belair, I've said this a lot, and I think that she's not a heel now, but she's totally miscast as a heel. Like, she has babyface written all over her. She's got a nice smile. She's a happy-go-lucky kind of girl. When she skips down to the ring, she looks very legitimately happy to be there. And, it's just, she's got a lot of cool moves she can do.
Yep.
She just doesn't work I don't really buy her as a heel. I think she's much better off as a babyface.
Agree.
Um,
No comment there. Yeah, from there, there was William Regal, just classic. Here's the thing.
Yeah, I have an announcement to make.
Update from William Regal.
He announced that a match to determine the number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship on the first episode of NXT on the USA Network. Mia Yim will face off against Bianca Belair and Io Shirai in a triple threat match to determine the next challenger. Bianca Belair should win this match. I don't know when this match will take place. If it's at Takeover, then maybe it's time to pull the trigger on a Bianca Belair win. I think you could do it. So I think what you can do, possibly not what you should do, you have the whole Rhea Ripley in there, and I'm not sure how that factors into the equation. It might not, but they usually went. That was a pretty big moment for them not to follow up on at all. And Shayna Baszler versus Rhea Ripley without the title doesn't really have the same appeal for me. Because she would have already lost the title. Her reign would be over and all that. But ignoring the wild card that is Rhea Ripley, I think
the actual wild card.
Yeah. I think
how is that going on the main roster? Have they just completely abandoned that by this point?
No, like there's fluid borders between the rosters. Bayley attacked Becky and turned heel, realigning with Sasha Banks.
What?
I guess yeah. It was SmackDown Women's Champion attacked the Raw Women's Champion to align with her challenger on Raw, and then they cut a promo on SmackDown together. So it's utter chaos. But apparently they're gonna have more stringent roster specifications once SmackDown moves to Fox.
Good. I like having two shows.
Yeah.
Instead of one schizophrenic show.
Yeah. So what you can do here is you can have Bianca Belair win this triple threat and then win the title. And then I don't want to really do this to her, but you can then have her in short order drop the title to Io Shirai to get that into the Candice LeRae Io Shirai feud.
It's an interesting plan.
I think of the options presented to me, that would be what I would go with. However, because like Io Shirai versus Shayna Baszler, heel versus heel, that don't work for me. What I suspect will happen is that Mia Yim will somehow win this match and then lose again to Shayna Baszler, and then Shayna Baszler will wrestle Rhea Ripley on that Takeover.
You know, that really is the most viable or the most plausible option, just because I know how these things work. I remember when I was looking back through all the championship matches of NXT, like the main event matches for all the takeovers, and it was always like in spurts where they'll do like the same matchup, 2 or 3 takeovers in a row.
Right.
And that rings true. I can only guess short term, but I would also like Bianca Belair to win this. I think she at least deserves the shot.
Totally. Then we had Adam Cole and Jordan Miles. They had a fine little match here. Jordan Miles got his offense in, looked good. He went for his big 450, but Cole got the knees up and then hit a couple super kicks and the last shot and rolled him up but Miles avoided the last shot, I'm sorry. And then he rolled it up and then he got hit with a couple super kicks and then the last shot for the pinfall. The announcers really put Jordan Miles over like a big deal. He got a lot of offense in on Adam Cole, who has been a very strongly booked NXT champion. And so obviously they see big things for him in the future. Where does he go from here, you may ask? I don't know is my answer. They kind of he got put in a real big spot real quick, and he doesn't have any logical feuds. I thought perhaps they would have him look like he was going to even win the title, and then Shane Thorne would interfere, and that would be the feud. But it appears as if Johnny Gargano and Shane Thorne is going to be the feud moving forward. So that was tabled, and now I don't know what to do with the former ACH. There's no Cassius Ohno anymore to feud him with.
I think I don't know. I feel like maybe he'll do like a rematch feud with Cameron Grimes. Maybe they'll just pick up a feud with him and someone on the roster.
Yeah, I guess you can have him win a few squash matches and build him up, and then maybe he wrestles another guy who's in the upper mid card, like a Dijakovic, or maybe he wrestles a match against Mansoor somewhere in there.
Be a good one. Yep. I'm feeling, I guess in general, I'm looking over this and now I'm feeling like I think as we approach, we are, 2 weeks away from their debut on USA.
Yes, indeedy.
I think there's at least a little bit of turbulence. NXT has been streamlined because it's all just there. They've just been able to stay on the platform. Nothing crazy has been going on. They've just been able to build it really solidly. And I think the move to TV, just as it will, there's nothing to blame. No blame is being placed. This is just what is happening, right? As you have to consider more stuff.
When you're doubling the length of the show, it's going to throw things into turmoil. And I suspect that's why a lot of these wrestlers, like the Tainara Contis of the world, were getting some more showcasing, so the fans take them a little more seriously, because these are people who are going to have to just by default be featured more and be in more prominent positions on the cards, because you have 2 hours to fill now. You have double the time. Well, I guess it's not really 2 hours. It's what, an hour 45?
Still double the matches.
Yeah, with commercials. But yeah, now you have commercial breaks in the middle of matches potentially that you have to consider. And the format of the show is gonna change. How much that change affects things in a positive or negative sense will remain to be seen. I am hopeful that they'll be able to put a good show together. I have often thought that NXT was a little log-jammed with talent and could maybe do for an expansion to, I wouldn't have gone for 2 hours, I would have gone for 90 minutes, but I think
2 hours probably works better with their blocking.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be fine. I think they definitely have enough people to feature, and you can have crossover from NXT UK to get exposure for those stars, and there's a lot of guys in there that are very talented and can fit well and have good matches on television. And if a 20-minute match on TV and a 15-minute match on TV right there, that's like half of the programming block you have to fill. So quality matches, some good promo segments, some more of what NXT does already, and it shouldn't be too much of a problem.
That's what we're hoping for. Please deliver.
Meow mix. All right, and on that reference to a decade-plus old commercial, we will end it. So, thanks for sticking around for this nearly hour-long episode of Saturn Slam Review. We will try to avoid them being this long in the future, but shit happens. So,
yes, that's very true.
Until then, be well, stay safe, and grapple like it's 1995.
Peace.